Weekend Warriors, as we get into them here, Pat Doherty, Roto Pat, our friend and colleague, goes on Twitter. It turns out literally every non-Arthur Smith human was right. Who knew? Hashtag rise up. Talking about Bijan Robinson's 16 carry, 90 for 91 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches, and also caught a touchdown. I mean, he's right, guys. He's right. It turns out when you give Bijan Robinson, a top 10 pick in the draft, a playmaker, not just a running back, adequate touches, he will reward you with points.
Yes,
it's as simple as that.
It's literally the most basic coaching tenet of all time. Get the ball in your best player's hands. That's right. It's what I do with 12 and under girls basketball. It's what finally Arthur Smith did. Oh yeah, exactly.
Sophia.
Yeah, exactly. Josie and Sophia, fantastic. Yeah. That's why we run the table.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? But no. Yeah. But Arthur Smith finally gets the ball to Bijan Robinson. He has a monster game. 19 total touches in this one. Back-to-back games now with 19 touches. Oh, by the way, Falcons on a 2-game win streak.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting how that works out. Yeah. Not tough.
Why give the ball to LeBron and Wade when Mario Chalmers is right there waiting to run the offense?
That's literally what it is. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and then what happens, Arthur Smith, is that because I have to take out in football terms. I have to obscure basketball references. Basketball references. But yes, well, right when you give the ball to Bijan this much, and then all of a sudden the defense collapses on Bijan, then you can kick it out to John Paxson to drain a 3.
John
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Was he in Breaking Bad?
He was.
Yeah, interesting.
He
No,
was in
but
The Last
Bijan
Dance.
was fantastic.
They probably have never seen The Last Dance either.
Yeah.
Those 3.
No, they wouldn't. Yeah, they wouldn't have.
It's unbelievable.
Bijan was fantastic. I think the receiving work as well is encouraging. Gets the 6 targets. The NFC South has just got to secede from the NFL. This is a mess. So the Falcons are 5-6. Falcons are going to host a playoff game against
the crazy
Dallas.
Part.
Dallas is going to go into Atlanta, and Dallas is going to be like 7.5-point favorites on the road in a playoff game. It's a complete mess. But good to see Bijan finally get the work that he deserves.
I think now that we have, again, it's Arthur Smith, so you never know. But I think the concern on Bijan was never the talent, but just the usage. Is it going to be weird? Is he going to get pulled for Tyler Algier? Are they going to try to do goofy stuff? And they didn't. It seems like they finally found a rhythm on offense here. We're committed to Desmond Ridder. We're committed to Bijan Robinson as well. The concern is, by the way, once again, nothing from Kyle Pitts. But Jets, Bucks, Panthers, Colts are the next 4 for Atlanta. Only the Jets give you any kind of concern. And look, we just saw Mostert have a huge game against them.
Team's been able to run recently against them.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Bijan locked into the RB1 that you drafted him to be.
Yep. Only concern is Desmond Ridder, again, was terrible, which is going to...
Yeah.
They don't have an answer under center. Nah. Maybe they'll go back to Heineke. Just keep going back and forth. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. No way you do that. Over in Giants-Patriots, the game that was being labeled as the Drake May Bowl, Rhamondre Stevenson stands out, 21 carries, 98 yards. He also caught 5 passes for only 9 additional yards, so hopefully you were playing in PPR. But Jay, with Rhamondre, he just looks to have a little bit more wiggle and explosiveness than what we saw the first month of the season, where he was kind of stuck in the mud on a lot of carries.
Yeah, I feel like this is our first completely meaningless game of the season for the NFL, Patriots-Giants.
Yeah, for this season.
For this season,
I was just going to say, because massive implications for next year.
Yeah. But as in terms of just the self-contained product, Tommy DeVito against the array of characters on the New England Patriots didn't offer a ton from a fantasy perspective, but Rhamondre, he just looks more explosive, and to get the 21 carries is a huge positive for him.
But also catches 5 balls in the passing game, only for 9 yards, but still, most importantly, for prop a shot, I took the over on 2.5 receptions. So that cash.
Yes.
So there you go on Rhamondre. I think he remains in RB2 as well. Other side of the ball, not a lot going on there for Saquon. Jalen Hyatt has a nice day at the office. We'll talk about him a little bit more tomorrow in waivers as well. So, it feels like Hyatt is somebody that can have a impact down the stretch. I will say this. Tommy DeVito looked competent. Like, he didn't look awful. You know what I mean?
Like, sacked.
He's
actually effective.
Yeah.
The problem is he's literally getting sacked once every 5 dropbacks, which is kind of impossible when you think about it. Once every 5 times you get sacked, really? Yeah. So, anyway,
Sam
that's
Howell
a problem.
said, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly.
So. All right, our next one, Jonathan Taylor, 15 carries for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns, looking like vintage JT over here, Matthew, for the Colts that are storming towards a playoff appearance under Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, what was nice is they were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is a pretty good run defense, and he looked like Jonathan Taylor. He's now scored in 3 straight games. It was his first multi-touchdown game of the year. It's a season high in fantasy points, over 21 in this one. He's a top 10 running back as we head into Monday Night Football. If there's a concern with him, he played only 57% of the snaps, which is his lowest since Week 7. Didn't get targeted in the passing game either, so that's a concern. But ultimately, I think he's a borderline RB1, RB2 when they face the Titans next week. The schedule isn't super easy for them. They're at Tennessee, then at Cincinnati. Okay, you like that. But home to Pittsburgh, a surging Steelers team, and then at Atlanta, which for all the Desmond Ridder jokes, the Falcons can play defense.
Yeah, they can. And look, it's an interesting balance because they're playing solid defenses for the most part, but they're also not great teams, so you wouldn't expect game script to get out of control. This team could go 11-6, 10-7 and make the playoffs pretty conceivably. So I think that Taylor will be in game scripts that help him.
This year, Derrick Henry, the usage and the yardage hasn't been there, Jay, but the 2 touchdowns yesterday on top of 76 yards is a big step in the right direction.
Yeah, and Henry gets in the end zone twice, as you noted, and that's the key thing. But I do think it's a little bit disappointing that the big Derrick Henry game against the worst run defense in football in a game they're leading the entire way is 76 yards on the ground. Like, it's just not there at the moment. The offensive line just isn't giving him any space.
Yeah, I mean, what was his rushing line prop? Like
69 and a half.
Right,
he goes 6.5 yards over.
Yeah, I mean, not much. Right, again, fantasy-wise, he cashes for you because of the 2 touchdowns as well, but it's his third straight game under 80 total yards, third straight game with lower than 20 touches in this one, and after such promise from Will Levis at the beginning of the year, this offense just hasn't seemed to really connect, and we'll talk more about it coming in the upcoming days this week as well. But I mean, I feel like Henry has become a touchdown-dependent RB2, a high-end RB2, but still a touchdown-dependent. In a game in which he scored 2 touchdowns, he's still only running back Ted heading into Monday Night Football.
Not ideal.
That's good, but that's if you score 2 touchdowns, you should be better than the 10th
easiest
running
matchup
back
of
in
the season for him as well.
Yes, correct.
Right, yeah. Colts, Dolphins, Texans, Seahawks on deck. Moving over to the pass catchers, Mike Evans comes into Monday Night Football as wide receiver 2, Matthew, because he caught 2 touchdowns, 6 catches and 70 yards, but those 2 touchdowns, obviously the key to getting him in the top 5 this weekend.
I could not have been more wrong on Mike Evans in the preseason. And by the way, not just me, but the entire fantasy community. I think everyone was fading Mike Evans. They were concerned about the age. They were concerned about the lack of production the last 2 years. They were concerned about Baker Mayfield, but he has turned it on. Third straight game with a touchdown. Third straight game with 9 or more targets. On a points-per-game basis, he's the 8th best wide receiver in fantasy this season. And then you look at their upcoming schedule. Panthers, Falcons, Packers, Jags, all teams you can throw on.
Our next one, Jay, Rashee Rice. I mean, obviously 107 yards and a touchdown is great, but I think the story here is season-high 10 targets. The volume has now arrived for the Chiefs' second-round pick from last year's draft.
Yeah, and I think the key is that Patrick Mahomes targeted his wide receivers overall 17 times, and 10 of them went to Rashee Rice. And so, look, it's a one-game sample. Maybe it was something about the specific matchup, but coming out of that game where MVS and Justin Watson effectively cost them the game, it would make sense that Mahomes would go more to Rashee Rice. He just looks so much better than all their other receivers. And I understand he's maybe not the most polished route runner, but you just get him the ball in space, and he can do what he did on that 39-yard touchdown.
No Mecole Hardman or Kadarius Toney in this game, so more of a narrow route tree for and pass catching options for Patrick Mahomes as well. 64% of Rashee Rice's yards came after the catch, which I think is important because I was just like, oh yes, that's what an Andy Reid offense is supposed to look like. Get guys in space, take advantage of the speed, get mismatches, and so Rice gives them their best option. Justin Watson catches a touchdown in this one, which was nice, but from a pure talent standpoint, we all want it to be Rashee Rice, and it seems like Mahomes was like, all right, I'm done around here with the MVSs of the world. Yeah. Let me go to the guy that's got some actual talent here. Sorry, MVS, but
brutal.
Dude, there's a montage of him dropping passes.
Hey,
there's a montage.
MVS cost me a lot of money in that game. You don't need to tell me. I close my eyes and I still see the ball go through his hands.
I had Chiefs minus 2.5 as the final leg on a number of parlays that would have made me some real money, where I could have just said, screw you guys, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But no.
Yes.
Now you have to show up.
Now I got to show up.
No.
Very
Thanks,
upsetting.
MVS.
Our final weekend warrior, another rookie wide receiver, Zay Flowers, a little bit of a different mold. Zay catches 5 of 8 targets for 25 yards and a touchdown, 37 yards on that carry that iced the game, Jay. And would say, under Todd Monken, it's just manufactured touches, a ton of screens, and we saw the jet sweep as well.
Yeah, and the manufactured touches actually worked
Right.
in this game where he does get the jet sweep and he takes it 37 yards to the house. He's just the most dynamic player on that offense in the passing game.
They're on a bye this week, so you figure out of the bye they'll find even more ways to get him involved creatively. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.